Dun, 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 dun. And we're live. We're live. Danny's grabbing some coffee. We have Myk here. And we're going to get into it. And Danny will join us shortly. I'll let the maybe music play for a little bit, get warmed up as people start tuning in. Agent Hour 006. Next one is going to be 007. That's pretty cool. This one's really cool too, Myk.
Oh, totally. I think I saw on X that Danny was going to have someone from OpenSea join on 7.
Oh yeah. I think we're not fully confirmed yet, but I think we're going to have Devrel Base, Yosef, and Ryan from OpenSea join next week for the 007 episode.
Very cool. Very interested in that one. I'll be tuning in for that.
Nice. Well, as Danny's getting coffee, let me see if I can make the volume a little lower. Okay.
And before we get started, Igor, I think are you guys? I see that you have it on your X. Danny has it on hers. Does it go out from Bankr too? I have it running on mine, or is it just typically you? And
it should be like ping deployer. Let's get it running on. Let's see. Yeah, I see yours, Myk. It looks like you're live. I'm live.
Cool.
I'll just give it a few more minutes, everybody who's already joined us, and we'll get started. For now, you can enjoy this. Is it chill house, minimal house, whatever it's called. I really like the others, Danny. The image, the GIF for your image here.
I was blown away by it. I thought that was so cool.
It was
And
really
I love,
cool.
the little Myk.eth Mochimon in the stroller. That's incredible.
So Grok, like the advanced Grok, I forget what they call it, like the $30 a month Grok make my videos thing. Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
I gotta start using it more.
Yeah, that's very cool. I feel like the GPT image creator has gotten just so good.
Also really good. It makes GIFs now. Did you check that out?
I have not seen that. No, I need to look into that. I was gonna make stills there and then like animate them somewhere else, but I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, it makes like a 3x3 scene frame, like and like with a counter of 1 to 9, and then like you could like describe the scenes and then it'll animate it.
That's really cool. That's what's missing in Grok. It's like a YOLO kind of like thing. And then if you want to edit something, you can't really edit it. It makes you a new video.
Mm.
So, and if you want to do scenes, you need to do like separate videos. So, I mean, there's still room for improvement on the product side, but on the tech side, it's insane.
It is really cool. Like,
Exactly what I wanted.
yeah, and it works really well on the X. Like having anything that's like has motion to it captures the eye a little bit better than a still image.
Yeah. And just animating scenes. Like who would have, like 2 years ago, who would have thought I could do this?
Yeah,
It feels like like these tools are giving us superpowers. Like I would have the back and forth I would have to have with like an animator and a designer and anything. Wow.
yeah, it's true. We really do have superpowers, and a lot of time, a lot of times you hear a lot of the doomsayers like, "Oh my God, AI is here. No, we're not gonna have jobs." And in my head, I'm like, I'm not really like, maybe I'm just not thinking about that right now. I'm having too much fun. Like I'm having way too much fun right now. Like, I mean, if I'm feeding the AI overlords with seeding all my information, I guess so be it. But what's the alternative to not do it and be behind? So I'm super excited for the
I was
future.
also at an event that someone was like, AI is gonna make us all lazy. I'm like, fucker, I
More
haven't
productive than ever.
I haven't slept in 6 months. You kidding?
Yeah, Jensen Huang, he had uh, he had like a good, founder CEO of NVIDIA. He had a really good take on this, where because he saw this first, and the AI was used for radiology labs to do scans, and everybody in radiology said, "Oh my God, you guys are going to replace our jobs." And radiology jobs and radiologists, I think it like tenfolded, like the amount of like openings, because the amount of things that the AI is spotting using that new technology has increased. So the surface area of what they're looking at has increased so much that they need more people like analyzing the scans. So like I like that version of the world where the tools make us so much more productive and just create abundance.
In the radiology side of it, when it was first coming out, like all this AI stuff's coming out in like 2022, I remember people were like dooming about that particular use case because when there would be X-rays or scans and there would be like something cancerous, there'd usually be a ruler in there measuring like how big
Hmm.
the thing was. So all you had to do to trick an AI was like put a ruler in the image, and it would automatically think that there's cancer there. And they're
Oh my
like,
God.
"Oh, these things are stupid." But like, you just give it a few years, and I'm sure now it's better than like any human eye at this point, and it's only
Yeah.
going to get better.
Yeah. I had I had a call with a good friend of mine recently who I think one of the most incredible engineers I know, but he's been more reluctant than most to like adopt into his workflow because there's a lack of trust factor. It's like I don't know if I could like ask it for architecture and depend on it. And but like after like working with him a little bit closely and like getting on a call, there was like clearly like it's like he hasn't been using the tool as often. So like he didn't like know how to feed it correct context. And there's a lot of tools that you just don't use if you're just like if you're still of the mindset that like you're not trusting this yet. And I think for all of us on this call and probably a lot of people that are listening, like we're so in it, we're so close to it that we forget like that there's like a big part of the world that's still at arm's length from this a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I feel like if you work in tech long enough, everyone's probably had the situation where like an executive sends a screenshot of something that's a bug, and like they don't say what it is. They just send you the screenshot with like a question mark, and you're supposed to like figure out what this bug is. Like these days, like people who don't understand how to prompt and they can't narrow or explain what they're trying to do, or those are the ones who got to figure that out really quickly, because you can't
Yeah.
just send a question mark and expect your bug to get fixed. Maybe in the future, but not right now.
And the ones who do though are doing, I'm hearing 40x the
The
output.
rock stars. Yeah.
Like you take a 10x engineer who can actually offload his mental process of how he does things to the AI and explain it to them like an intern, but then the work it does is 40x what he can do. And you just need to be able to break it down, ask the right questions, red team it the right way. And yeah, where the radiology part, Mike, did I tell you what my husband does?
No.
So he has a health AI company for surgeons. So they actually do, it's not still images, it's an actual video. So
Wow.
computer vision on video for surgeries that are done minimally invasive. So they actually did studies in order to get surgeons to trust it. That they did I don't remember if it was with May or Cleveland. They published that the AI was 94% accurate and writing the operative report out of the video, whereas the humans, and these are the best surgeons in the world from like the top 2 hospitals in America, were 74% accurate.
Wow.
But
Wow.
yeah, so it's like, oh, interesting. But it's once you give it the right context, and this is for, there are a lot of professions that it's really, I mean, how do you learn how to be a surgeon? You watch one, you do one, you teach one, literally. Okay, like they let residents do surgery on real people because that's the only way they can learn. That's why if you ever go get a surgery anywhere, you
No
say,
residents in the room.
I want the guy who's been doing this one,
It-
or the girl who's been doing this one surgery every day for the past 10 years.
So we
Yep.
we all have kids now. Congratulations, Mike. He's a new dad. I'm also, I guess, a recently new dad as well. But we all have kids, and my wife had that. What Danny was talking about. How you could give like a one pager of the things that you want in your delivery room, and it was like one of the items that was highlighted is like no interns, no residents.
So yeah, I get that. I mean, the one thing we said was, because we had a boy, and so we had him circumcised, and so we said, like, look, when you do this, like, get the attending. We don't want a resident like doing this. And they said,
Yeah.
we only actually have the attendings do it. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So how do the residents learn? But I was like, maybe you learn on other
Maybe
little
they
boys.
practice.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think the power of collective intelligence is something that people who are in it are starting to understand, because now you have, okay, so when you're a good surgeon because you've been doing this for a long time, as an example, it's not just because of your dexterity, but it's mostly your decision points. Something happens, you need to make a decision, and at that point, do you have the knowledge? Basically, the decision is with the contact is done in the context of the 500 surgeries that you've personally done and 200 surgeries you've seen, so 700 surgeries, or do you have that decision with the collective knowledge of surgery, 10,000 surgeries from around the world, that's also directly connected to the electronic health record of outcomes. So it's not just like what decision was made by which doctor, but how did it affect the outcomes at the end? And in real time, you can like download that. This is the decision that needs to be made. So it's such a powerful tool to learn how to use to help you just be better at your job.
yeah,
100%.
no, it's super exciting for so many different industries. Mike, we're really happy to have you on. We typically do like a TLDR on like the person, because we like to jump into just some of the cool stuff that you're building and jam on that. But maybe if you have that TLDR, happy to hear it now.
Yeah, sure. Well, just quick disclaimer before we get into anything. So, like, everything I'm sharing here today is my own opinion, my own experience. It doesn't reflect like my employer, or it's not in any way financial advice. Not telling anyone to buy or sell anything. So I just want to kind of get that disclaimer out of the way. This is just me as a builder in the space joining to chat about on-chain agents.
Roll fine print. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No.
There you go. And then so for me, so I'm a software engineer on the base team. I work on the base app. My focus is on trading, and now the whole app is focused on trading, which is great. Before that, so I studied information science at school. I did computer science as my minor. I was a product manager when I first got out of school. I was in the media industry, and it was a really hot time. Like Facebook was huge, and like Snapchat, Instagram. So it was a really interesting place to be. And then when about, I don't know, 7 years into that or 6 years into that, I actually got approached to run HR for the media company. They looked at all the Glassdoor reviews for the whole company. They were like, wow, it seems like everyone loves working on the product and tech team, but not so much anywhere else. Can we take the product and tech team leadership and spread that culture throughout the company? So I did like a 5-year tour of duty as a VP of people operations, and I learned a ton. I learned finance, I learned legal, I learned all these things that I wouldn't have had exposure to otherwise. And so that was a really interesting 5 years. And I led the company through the pandemic, which was a really a big challenge for everyone in that industry. But then I joined Base in August of 2024 because I was already like building in public. I was building on chain. I got introduced to Web3 technology when I was working in HR during the pandemic. So where, you know, we would have like media studios and we would need to like do COVID tests. And there were all these gray areas. There was no blueprint for like how to do this very early on. I'm talking like May 2020. There was like no playbook for this. And so I got approached by a company that said, well, I can prove that somebody got a credible COVID test within the last 3 days and it wouldn't share any other personal information about them. And I was like, how does that work? And he was explaining to me that they were using zero knowledge proofs. We're using NFTs. It's all in an app, so it's abstracted away. And I was just totally blown away. This is called Bindle. I don't know if they're around anymore. I think they pivoted to be like some kind of on-chain identity platform, but that's how they started. And I was just totally like immersed. I was like, what the heck is a zero knowledge proof? I was like, how can you do like this kind of primitive? Because I haven't seen it in any of these like Web 2 platforms that I was used to building. So
that's what hooked you in.
That's what hooked me
crypto.
in.
Yeah,
absolutely.
How magical are these moments, like that oh shit moments when you understand blockchain technology and then your brain like explodes. There's like smoke because the wheels are turning and it's like, this is how I can use it in like a million other ways.
100%. And like, you know, I was building on the side the whole time because, you know, like I said, I went to school to code, but I became a product manager out of school because I found out pretty quickly, like I didn't love coding unless I was building something that I really had fun with. So I didn't want to get stuck like building like accounting software my whole life. So I thought if I was a product manager, I could like choose what we build and I would have fun. Now that I'm building like on-chain stuff, I'm having a blast. But I was still building things on the side. Like I was building things to help my team back then. Like a Jira GitHub connector was like not something you saw. And I would just build stuff like that, you know? And I was building the same CRUD app over and over again. And then when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, we have a whole new world of primitives. And I could build something that's not your typical CRUD app. And so at nights, weekends, mornings, I was building on chain. And so Base started to really highlight builders, and it was like a really great place to build because you would get recognition. Like I was building on Ethereum layer 1 in like 2020 and up to 2024, and I'm just kind of like shooting stuff into the void. Like nobody would recognize the stuff I was building. I mean, it would cost like $100 in gas just to do something, so you didn't really get a ton of users. But then you had Base, which was super fast, it was super cheap, and you could build things that other people could try at a very low cost. And so I used Farcaster to kind of get the word out. I used my X account to get the word out, and every now and then I would get like a repost from someone on Base, and then eventually Chintan, who is the director of the Coinbase wallet engineering team, reached out to me. We were going back and forth, and Neri, who was the product lead at the time, reached out to me. We were going back and forth, and eventually they were like, why don't you just like do this with us full time? And so that's what I've been doing ever since August 2024. And it's felt like I've retired. Like it feels like I wake up every day and I do what I would be doing if I didn't have a 9-to-5. Like I get to do this, which is something I'm really grateful for.
That's what
yeah,
you
so that's kind of
last week. Last week we were like hanging out and talking about these things and like building things in the middle. And we're like, I've never had this much fun.
Yeah. It's that's another superpower. And Danny, you mentioned superpowers before. It's like finding that thing where you're like, okay, this is a lot. Like, I mean, if you were to judge it objectively, somebody looking from the side, like, okay, it's a lot of work. They're like always on, but like inside our world, you're like in your head, you're just like having a blast doing all these things, and there's like a good reward mechanism and like dopamine. Like you're exploring, you're curious, you're learning, you're growing. Like it's a magical place, and it's almost like, you know, if you don't find that, I mean, hopefully for those that are still like looking for that, you know, like keep fucking shipping and like look for that next big opportunity, because it really changes the velocity at which you move completely. So, but yeah, man, what are you like? Myk Clawd. I feel like you've been building some cool stuff, working with the Bankr tech stack, building agents. Like, talk to us like what you're up to in the side project world.
Yeah. So, back in, I want to take it back to like January of this year when like OpenClaw first came out. So, I remember seeing the release of OpenClaw and thinking to myself, like, oh, there's finally like an out of the box, kind of out of the box solution to running like an agent that I could just talk to at any time, like from my phone. I don't have to be at my computer, and it can remember things about me, and it could do things on my behalf. And I thought, oh my God, that's really, really cool. I can't wait to experiment with this. And just being an on-chain builder, I thought, well, the natural first thing for me to do is give this thing a crypto wallet and have it start trading for me. So that's what I did. And when I was looking to see what kind of technology was out there that I could just plug together really quick, Bankr was the first thing that came to mind, only because being the engineer on the trading team, I'm kind of like always trying to see what kind of trading technology exists out there, like what's like the next big thing. And it was pretty clear that talking with an LLM is like the new UI. People aren't going to be pointing and clicking. There's a lot of value in just explaining what you want that's in your head and having it just work. And Bankr was that for trading. So I thought, well, what a perfect marriage. So I put the Bankr. I don't think there was a CLI at this point. I kind of just pointed my OpenClaw to like the Bankr docs, and I said, like, let's make this work, and it just did. And so it just started trading. And I was like, I can't believe I just stood this up in like, I don't know what it was, maybe a day, not a little
Super
less.
cool.
Yeah. And so I put it out there. I named it Myk Clawd because I use Myk, MYK is my name, my 3-letter ENS to be creative and get my name Myk.
Yeah, sorry, I've been always saying Myk. I thought it was but it's Myk. It's just
it's all
Myk.
good. It's
okay.
The price of trying to shove a square peg into a round hole.
And paying that extra ETH for a 3-letter ENS name.
No, it is not cheap. It is not cheap. So I named it Myk Clawd. Back then, like this was called, I think it went through a whole bunch of different names, the Clawd bots, but I think like Clawd was like the first thing it was called, so I just kept it. It didn't have to be just trading. It could build things, right? It could get access to your GitHub. It could learn how to build cool apps. And so ever since then, I've just been thinking, okay, what are some cool side projects I would normally build on nights, weekends, mornings, whatever, just to like scratch that itch. And what can I build in a prompt? Like what could I explain in my head what I want, and then just have my OpenClaw run wild with it and send me a URL in a couple hours. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's been great because I get that itch scratched, and then at the same time, it doesn't take as much time for me to like lock myself in a room. So right now I'm on paternity leave and I'm with my kid, and I could just be on my phone with one text and just like it's building, and then I'll just get like a link back and play with it. And so I can talk about some of the things
Can you touch on so we like to pause sometimes and just touch on the process, like for I mean, I guess it could be a new developer, but maybe also somebody experienced who could learn a little bit something about your process, like from the OpenClaw setup all the way to the transaction being executed. Can you describe like what your setup looks like? Like what are you using and how you got that wired up?
Yeah, for sure. So I saw some kind of like, I don't know, 1-minute tutorial on X, like the weekend OpenClaw came out for how to stand up your OpenClaw on AWS. And all that is literally just like looking at the video and just typing the same commands that guy typed into his terminal. And then you'd spin up an AWS EC2, and then you would deploy OpenClaw on it. And so for those who might not be like as familiar with what the heck I just said, I could basically take a computer that lives in Amazon, turn it on, and then install OpenClaw on it, and then be able to talk to it from my phone. And all I had to do to get that to work was watch a tutorial and type the same commands that person typed, and then it was live. And so that's kind of how I stood it up initially. I actually tried to be a little bit clever and cute and tried to stand it up on Oracle because I had like a better free tier system. And so this is where maybe being like deeper in the engineering can kind of like send you on a little bit of a wild goose chase, because you try to be too cute and too clever, and then you
Why did you choose So I mean, AWS
And then you choose Oracle Cloud.
Yeah, I saw a
the
tweet out there
docs.
that
Oh my
was like,
god.
yeah, it was like, oh, you could save like 80% using Oracle because they have a better free tier model or something like that.
A
So
quick aside. So so the friend that I mentioned before, the great engineer. So like one of the things that we went over was they were using Azure. And I was like, well, why don't you just feed it like all the docs, like give it more context? He's like, well, look at these docs, and then look at the docs, and there's like, you can't copy anything into LLM. You can't even really copy and paste anything because of the way the docs are set up in a horrendous way. And then I scrolled all the way down, and there was a link in the lower left-hand corner that said download PDF, and it downloaded like 900 pages of PDF files of like all the docs like together. And it turned out you could actually feed that whole thing to Claude, and it could read it and get the context. But it just like, to your point, I guess, like, there's a lot of like stuff that's not set up yet for easily getting running with agents. But sorry to divert, but the AWS choice, why in your head you're like, okay, OpenClaw plus AWS? Because a lot of people would say, I'm going to run it locally on a Mac Mini, or I'm going to maybe use another abstracted service from AWS because AWS has so many bells and whistles.
Like everyone's running to the Apple stores at the time you're talking about to buy a little Mac Mini, and
including this bozo.
So their Mac Mini, it's like, I'm ready for OpenClaw, and you're like, no, I'm gonna virtualize it.
Well, okay, so maybe I would have done that if I was home, but I was in Florida visiting my parents, and it was like a Sunday, and we were all just like hanging out outside, and I only had my laptop, and the whole point for me was like, I shouldn't have to like close my laptop and now I can't use it. Like, it should be always running. I should always be able to talk to it. So my laptop, which is the only thing I had on me, wasn't an option. So I knew I had to host it in the cloud. And because this 1-minute tutorial had AWS as like the golden path, I just followed it. So that's why I did it.
For
However,
we have Apple stores in Florida.
Okay.
you do?
I wasn't gonna peace out of my parents and go to the Apple store. But I will say that now that I'm on parental leave, I have some more time at home, and there's this old dusty PC tower in my basement that I just converted from Windows to Linux, and now that's what's powering my OpenClaw. So I'm finally off of AWS. Yeah, I mean, I say it's old and dusty, but it has like 16 gigs of RAM. It has a terabyte of storage, and I think it has like 8-core CPU. Actually, Myk Clawd made a server health section on its dashboard, so I could see all the specs and how it's running.
And it's running 24/7, just like
in my basement.
You just leave it on. You just leave it on and
make it into a skill. Make it into a skill.
How to set up your hardware devices.
Yeah. So now I'm totally off AWS.
The server health.
Specifically the server health. Yeah.
Oh, very smart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Yeah, 100%. You should do that.
Super useful for everyone.
For everyone who's there, who's run. If anyone's running it locally, they're going to instantly want to use that, because I always think about like, well, should I leave my computer on all the time? Like, what is it on? Like, is it even on? Like, Is it live? So having that, maybe it like pings your Telegram or whatever. It gives you updates.
For sure. I just tried to share my screen so you can see what it looks like. But if you can't get that,
add to scene.
Yeah. So here's what it looks like right now. It's kind of like bare bones, but it's got like my RAM usage right now, which is just about like under 1.5 gigs, and then it's got my disk, which is I wasn't using that computer for anything else. And then so my CPU usage, some uptime, some processes that are running.
Did you clean it out first? Did you like?
Oh yeah.
It looks squeaky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. and I plan on filling this thing up too with all my ideas. So yeah, I'm excited for that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm running on right now. But in the beginning, it was AWS just for ease of use.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So now you have your setup. You can build anything. How do you even prioritize all your ideas? Do you have like an idea folder? Do you let Myk Clawd decide on its own? What's the process?
Oh, deciding on its own. That's next level. No, I basically, like, for me, it's kind of like the idea folder, but in my opinion, like these days, the cost of going from like idea to a prototype is so cheap that there's no sense in like writing my ideas down in a document and just like, oh, I'll get to it later. I'll just send the idea now and I'll have a prototype now. So that's kind of what I do. And so when I had this idea recently to try to find some alpha by providing liquidity on Aerodrome and trying to see if I can maybe make a little bit of profit by being smart about rebalancing and stuff like that. Look, I do not pretend like I know anything about being a liquidity provider and decentralized platforms. I just think like this is just a fun thing to experiment with, and if it works, that's great, and if it doesn't, well, then it's a loss.
I want to double click on that because
Sure.
I know you do, Danny.
So, and also I took a while to get my coffee because I was just on a call with the Aerodrome team, and they're the absolute best. But like they know like the it's really complicated, and to do liquidity, like to provide liquidity, but the upside is insane and people don't really understand why, like where does it fit in. And I always try it's like, okay, what's the analogy of LP pools to the real world? And I'm like, listen guys, this is the bank. Like the main function of the bank is it gives you your balance, but your balance is not there. Your balance is providing liquidity to other customers of the bank, in a horrible way because it's fractional reserve, whatever. When it's on chain LP, it's like actual money in, actual money out. But in a way, the bank's role is to provide liquidity, and they also get all the upside from providing that liquidity. And LPing allows anyone to serve that function as the bank with their savings, with their checkings, with their idle money. Even in FX, right? It doesn't have to be with like Bankr with WETH pool or WETH and Bitcoin. Like it could be USDC, USDT, and whatever Canadian stablecoin is. And when someone wants to do this exchange because they need Canadian dollars for whatever they want to do with it, then you provided that liquidity, you earn a small fee on it, and you cut the middleman, which is the banking infrastructure, and everything is in smart contracts. And completely on chain and completely permissionless. And it's magical. The reason why not everyone uses it, because we're talking very good return on your idle cash, is that it's very complicated to do right now.
It's complicated and it comes with risk. There's smart contract risk where if there's a bug or something like that, it all goes away, and there's no FDIC to kind of protect you on that end. There's also the risk of opportunity cost. So instead of providing these two crypto assets into this pool, if you just held on to those two assets, and like the price changed, you might have just benefited from holding rather than getting stuck with one more than the other because of the way the prices have moved. And so it's not without its risks, but because I was willing to take those risks just as kind of as an experiment to get more experience with these types of DeFi protocols, I took it, and so far it's been doing good. I just had Myk Clawd draw up a dashboard, something I would never be able to do myself because it's just too complicated, and I wouldn't have had enough time to kind of think through all the different things that we would need to query.
The dashboard, it's great.
Oh, sure, yeah. Let me go ahead and share this. So
do you have a strategy?
Yeah. So basically the idea here, the headline here is that it's made like $283 in the past 8 days or something like that. And what I'm doing is it's providing Ethereum or wrapped Ethereum, and it's providing Coinbase Bitcoin, CBBTC on base to Aerodrome. And what I'm trying to make sure is that like this hodl baseline, basically the amount that I would have made just holding onto those two tokens, it's
above that.
It's less than whatever I would have made if I
versus you got it. Yeah. Versus the impermanent loss.
Yeah, they call that impermanent loss, meaning like, if you just held on to those assets, you would have done better than if you were to have you realize the loss when you rebalance, when you take those assets out. Now you actually have more than the other. You're realizing those losses. And so actually, if I scroll down a little bit here, you'll see it's made $810 on Arrow, but it produced $526 of realized loss. And so when you do that delta, I get about $300. Now I'm going to keep a close eye on this because, the more volatile things get, the more that ETH and Bitcoin diverge in their price action, the worse this APR will be. But, there's strategies out there. There's alpha out there that I think I personally would not have found if I didn't have an agent kind of thinking through this with me and trying to discover the different opportunities that are out there. And I just want to caveat, I am not telling anyone to do this. This is probably not a great idea in the long term. I don't have enough data on whether or not it is, and it could all go to zero right now.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that you did here that it's probably maybe it's like rudimentary, but like it's important because you got down what like the baseline is. Like you have the actual metrics to track whether it's doing good or not. And then when you point your agent or your flow to like recursively learn from it, you can like have some kind of feedback loop. So like even understanding the fact that your baseline should be holding both assets and not just the money that you put in is already a step in the right direction. Like I feel like a lot of people might just do the former and say, hey, like I'm putting in $10,000 and like I should measure against that, which is already like a false start. So, I mean, TBD how it evolves, but at the very least, you're collecting the right data points.
Yeah, 100%. I have
how are you using Bankr? What's Bankr's role here? What's it doing?
Yeah, so any transaction that this wallet does is through the Bankr CLI. So basically what this is doing is there's a cron job. Every 15 minutes, the bot is looking at its position. And let's see. So currently it's in range. It's earning fees. But if this ever went out of range, that cron job will see that. And then it'll ask Bankr, hey, execute this transaction. And I have like a skill for this. And it'll do that. It'll rebalance. And it'll actually do all the steps it needs to do in one transaction. I can talk about why it's one transaction and not like 13, because there are a lot of steps. But essentially, that's Bankr's role: the execution and like reporting back to me like how that execution went. Because sometimes it could fail to rebalance due to slippage or something like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. What I'd actually once we take this offline, I'd love to get your skills up to our skills directory, our marketplace of plugin skills. Just because so one of the things that Deployer did, he created an LP management skill that we were playing around with internally, and it was like shockingly good at the things that it could do. I mean, it could like add liquidity by reverse engineering like a pool key to figure out like where to like add the liquidity, something that with like you just wouldn't do just because it's like complicated flow, and it's underexplored like LP management, and it feels like it's a good place to create a lot of skills. So like different skills for different ways to manage LPs. So yeah, I'd love to get your skills up as well.
Yeah, 100%.
How did you decide on the range?
Yeah, so I think this was something I was talking with my bot about, and the bot was essentially giving me the pros and cons of using like a 1 tick pool or a 30 tick or a 10 tick pool, 100 tick pool. And it basically said, based on the amount that you're depositing, based on how tight like our cron job is at looking at this and our appetite for risk, this 10 tick pool with 30 tick spacing is going to be probably the sweet spot. And I haven't changed it. So there might be better tick ranges and there might be worse ones, but so far I'm relatively happy with how this is going. So I haven't experimented with different tick ranges.
Has it changed the range yet? Like have you seen that?
So
yet, or
the 30 tick range won't change. That's going to stay constant.
But it's rebalanced in the past.
But it will rebalance. Yeah.
Mm.
So you could see like right now I'm holding way more Bitcoin than I'm holding Ethereum. And so when this comes out of range, what's going to happen is it's going to take that Ethereum and Bitcoin out, and then it's going to do a swap to get basically whatever it needs to redeposit back into a centered range. It figures all that stuff out.
Okay, so instead, so that's how it moves ranges. Is once it's out of range, it withdraws and then re-enters in a new range.
It's the same range. It's just a different.
Different center point.
Yeah, different center point.
Yeah, I made Myk Clawd made an article for how it all works, and I thought I had a different image for that, the whole rebalancing range thing, but yeah, so this document or this article in X kind of explains how that all works and the decisions that it makes, and you could get to it.
How do we get to it?
Yeah, you go to myclawd.xyz. If you tap on my arrow LP sidebar and you click the question mark here, you'll go right to that article.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but
we'll also drop
I think it would be interesting to see, because I mean, you can A/B test the strategies, right? You can tell them, okay, allocate now $500 out of the treasury for a much riskier strategy, and then we can compare the ROI at the end of the week.
100%. Yeah. Running experiments and reporting back on them are something that I feel like used to be such a burden on tech and product teams, and now it's so much easier with these agents. There is a interesting technology stack in this particular strategy that I'd like to touch on. So like this is not a nominal amount of money to me. Like $9,000 is pretty substantial, and so I know that there's plenty of bots out there that probably have access to more than that. But I was thinking to myself, okay, well, I don't want anything to go wrong with this because I think this is a useful nest egg to do experiments with, and so I've actually put this money in a Gnosis safe, or I think they're just called safe now. Yeah. And I wrote a submodule for that safe, which only can do that 13-step rebalance function. And so when Bankr says it wants to rebalance, it's actually calling a function on a submodule of my safe. So it can't actually access this $9,000, but it can call a function that, if out of range, will put my arrow position back in range.
Wow, that's super. Yeah. Any docs around that? Are you using safe docs for that, or what are you pointing your agents?
In the article, right? It's all in the article.
Yeah, it should all be in this article here about how the safe is. Yeah, the safe module.
Safe module. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I read the article.
Yeah.
Wow. This is something that I'm going to explore as well, because multi-sig management is crucial.
If you'd like, we could talk about another side project that does a similar setup that I thought was really fun, and that's with animal welfare.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yes.
Definitely talking about that.
Ethereum.
Yeah, let's talk about that one, because that one's a lot of fun. So let me see here. There's like the Myk. He did a poll on Monday, and every Monday he's going to do this. Here we go. So it did this poll automatically, and this is using a Bankr automation. So every Monday it just wakes up and it gives Bankr this prompt, and the prompt is going to go to endowment.org, which is like an on-chain charity platform where you can donate to all types of 501(c)(3)s. I think that's the correct term. And it looks specifically for animal welfare charities. And then it'll find 3 that it hasn't used yet, and it puts up a poll on X and says, hey, which of these should I donate to this week? And then anybody can vote on this poll. And then once the poll ends, it looks to see which charity won, and it takes yield from an endowment from a project called Ethereum, and it takes that yield that it's earned on Mamo, which is another on-chain protocol that is I think from the folks at Moonwell, and it earns on USDC. And it takes just that yield using a submodule function, kind of what I just described. So it doesn't actually have access to the 100,000 USDC endowment from Ethereum, but it does have access to the yield. And so it takes that yield, holds on to it, runs the poll, sees who won, and then automatically calls a function on endowment's contract that does a donation. So you can see here it did a 190 USDC donation to this this charity, which is, if you look it up on chain, there's the EIN number, and it matches up to the Turtle Island Restoration Network. And so that's it. I mean,
well,
that's yeah.
Can I have a product request?
I also have a request.
Yeah, please do.
I have a product request. Could we have links in the tweet of the poll so we can actually check those charity out? Because before I just voted based on the name.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So
and I actually want to spend a couple of minutes like digging into like the actual charities before I vote.
That's a great idea. I could very easily just tell Bankr to do that, and it should update the skill accordingly. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense too. Because Potherium put up the 100,000 USDC donation endowment that generates the yield for these, I am trying to think of like how we can make the Potherium governance have like a say. So if you have some kind of control over their governance, you could maybe put up one of the it'll be like 3 random ones and like whatever like the DAO wants for that week or something. I think that would be cool too. But links for sure. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, I was going to mention that this so the safety, using a safety module to manage multisigs, safe multisigs, feels directionally like what all agents should be doing, as people think about giving them access to much larger sums of money. So on our end, we think deeply about the security of agents, and we do things like whitelisting IP addresses, so where the request is coming from, which server. You could whitelist wallet addresses, like where the funds could be sent, limiting the scope of sending funds to the wrong address. And we also added some guardrails around like global spend amounts and per agent wallet spend amounts. So that way, in the event that something does go terribly, terribly wrong, you have like an X spend amount limit. I think it's $500 at this point. But that could be adjusted on a granular level depending on the API agent wallet. But this feels like another step in the right direction of how to work with agents, because there's a lot of fear in like having an agent with access to LLM brains that can work against a sum of money, and this likely can open up a lot of doors for managing funds, because as you said, like if you have a pool of like let's just like 1,000x, let's just say you have like $100 million in a multisig, to ask someone to run an agent against that sum of money is an impossible ask. But like pitching it from the standpoint of a safety module, which has a defined and constrained function of what it can and cannot do, becomes a much easier selling point for the engineering team on that big fund to make it happen. So that's really cool. I didn't even know this existed, and for people that are listening, hopefully you're as excited as I am. But this is definitely something I'm going to be exploring myself very shortly.
Very cool. Yeah, I actually recently stumbled on these submodules from safes myself, and I thought, wow, this is exactly what I need. And my safe that I have with my bot, if it does want to use some of that principle, it can. It just has to put up a signature in the Gnosis safe, and then I have to sign it as well, and then we can move it. So we're both the signers on it, which feels weird because it feels like I now really do have like another person on my team, but it's an agent, and it feels really interesting. So I wanted to let me see. There was what I wanted to do is touch on the Bankr app for this feature. Oh, you know what? Let me share this other one instead because I'm logged in on this one. Let me go ahead. I was really happy to see this Bankr apps feature that you all launched, where you can build things and then use those apps in the terminal. And so this is the one for the feature I just described with you all, the animal welfare polls. So this is the actual poll, and you can see like the history of the donations. This was like the first one it ever did for like $6. There's like a little test, and that went to the ASPCA, and then some stats. So it's gonna compound like the total donated and everything. And so I just thought this was like a fun, interesting use case to put into a Bankr app, and so now I have it right here in my apps.
How did you build the app? Where like how did you prompt it? Was it through just directly in Bankr terminal, or did you do it in this social feed?
I did it directly in the Bankr terminal, and I just said, turn this into a dashboard that I could look at and keep track of all the donations. So
which model did you have toggled on?
I think I used Opus 4.7 for that.
4.7.
Yeah.
Much like me, we love burning the tokens. I just want the best result.
Absolutely.
But you're not using. Are you using the LLM gateway?
So I'm using the Bankr LLM gateway as a fallback. I use Surplus Intelligence as my default LLM gateway. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this. That to me is like
Myk.
Oh, Myk, yeah.
No,
This is the best.
Myk, yeah.
This is the best kept secret in LLMs right now, in my opinion. And I don't know how this marketplace isn't just full of requests, but that's where I get my inference from. I get it like 90% off. Myk is now working on that. I think like every single day he's shipping some kind of update. And yeah,
this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
I've seen a few come up, but that one's definitely, that and Antseed, I think, are the most advanced, and also probably has the currently just the most seed. I guess he uses like the Venice DM inference that he owns to seed the liquidity in a way. Right? Like
yeah. So he gets DM, which is like a token. I forgot exactly how you get it. Maybe you stake Venice to get it. I'm not exactly sure.
You stake Venice. You lock and stake Venice.
Yeah, you get the DM, and then every DM token is $1 of inference a day, and so he might have more inference than he can actually use himself, which is why he called it surplus. So it's surplus intelligence, and so he basically puts that up on a marketplace and says, "Well, I'm not going to use it. So if anybody wants to buy it for 90% off, be my guest." And I raised my hand. I said, "Absolutely." So that's what I've been using for my inference, and I have a few fallbacks in place. In case it's unavailable or something, but
that makes a lot of sense. The DM market, I think, right now is on 20% utilization. So you do have a lot of people who are traders and not builders who own DM, don't want to sell it, don't want to unwrap it, because I think you pay like a 20% tax on getting it, like unwrapping the stake, whatever, and getting it back to Venus. So they're like, okay, cool. Can it just be a working asset that covers our opportunity cost? And even if it's 10% of the actual cost a day, it's like, it's making 10% a day. Cool.
That's a good relationship that you touched on, Danny, which is like between the traders and the builders and devs, and like marketplaces that interact with those two kind of archetypes, where the trader's like, I'm holding a bunch of this inference. There's a money motivation, a profit motivation, and then they could sell the inference. Some alpha there as well. Unlike in terms of like how you think about routing or any kind of optimization that you do, if any, it sounds like maybe you don't, which is the same case for me, but I always ask, which is like, are you creating any kind of like router on your end for like tasks that are complex versus tasks that don't require so much compute, or you're just like firing everything to like 4.7?
I have a skill in my OpenClaw that detects whether or not it should be spawning subagents to fulfill my request, and then based on the complexity of that request, it chooses which model it should be employing to do that task.
So there is some consideration for a task at hand.
There is, yeah, and it actually looks at all the different models available on Surplus, and it knows the pricing, and so it just takes whatever the best, cheapest model is for it. And
Is
it goes
this a
after it.
skill that you found online, or is it just something you developed over time?
This is something I just developed with my Open Claw. So
Nice.
yeah,
We should
so,
have like a separate Myk section in our skills directory.
I saw somebody made like a Bankr
Uniswap
LLM.
skills, OpenSea skills, Myk skills.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. What's like the? Do you have an LLM? Somebody built a router around the Bankr LLM gateway. I'm pretty sure I saw that on X at one point.
Yeah, there's a few people doing that around like some router logic. We're obviously also working and improving on our end to make sure the Bankr LM gateway is efficient, and both from a routing and a cost standpoint. So a lot of updates on our end coming as well. But yeah, the community's jamming constantly. I forget the name of the project, but somebody built like a router.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That's
What's next? What should we be expecting? What are you building?
Yeah, you have 3 months you said left on the turn.
Nah,
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Oh, 3 weeks. Never mind. 3 weeks. Okay. Well, 3. Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. So tell us.
Yeah. I don't know. That's like the honest answer. So usually I'll latch onto an idea and I'll just like get it all the way done, and then I'll usually just like stumble onto the next thing. There's a couple of things that I'm like toying with in my head. So I have this bird feeder that has a camera and does like AI like analysis on the birds that visit it, and so like it tells me like what kind of species. It even can tell if it's the same bird, and I can like name it, and then like it tells me, oh look, like Vladimir the blue jay came today, and like so I don't know, maybe I'll do something with that, maybe some like prediction market around like how often like different types of birds. I don't know. There's another one of like being a new parent. I want to know like what other things can I do to like make parenting a little bit more easy, because it's not easy. But if my Alexa hears my baby cry, could it just like start warming up a bottle or something? So there's like a few things. And then when it comes to like on chain stuff, just today. Oh, let me throw this in really quick because I know we're almost at the end of the hour, but like this hat that I'm wearing from the Department of Agriculture, I don't know if y'all are familiar with like Bobby propaganda. Yeah. But this hat essentially earned me like $100. It cost $100 to buy the hat. And then every Friday, shout out Bobby. Every Friday for the past year, you had a 10-minute window to take your phone, tap the chip that's in the hat, and then it would take you to a site where you can claim yield. And so it's made over $100 over the course of this year. Today's the last tap. So I made a quick dashboard of just like all the different taps I did, how much I made, and I had Myk Clawd put that up for me, and it's on myclawd.xyz if anyone wants to check it out. But that was so much fun. And so I love this idea of like physical items doing things with yield or just anything like that makes being on chain fun. When I explained this to my friends, they had no clue. They thought I was freaking crazy. First of all they heard was, you spent $100 on a hat. Are you nuts? And then they said, your hat makes money. That's even crazier. So I want to do like more things with like the physical world. That's why I feel like, the baby crying or like the birds visiting or whatever, like I'm like into this like IoT kind of phase right now at home, especially having just built like a server.
Yield swag sounds like the best thing ever. And I would like, where's the QR code, guys? Like, I feel like that's a project they should, like, that's how to get QR to the next level.
Oh, you're talking about like Jake's QR?
Yeah. Where's Jake? Where's he at? Like, how can we do this?
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's a similar concept. Only like, let's connect it to swag. Let's connect it to attention.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I don't know exactly where it's going yet, but like that was big inspiration. Like that's kind of what's going on in my head right now.
It sounds like a lot of fun hacking projects. It also sounds like you're going to be a really fun dad. So, I'm super impressed with all the stuff that you're doing. Obviously you're killing it at Coinbase, and we're we're excited to like work alongside you on the trading vertical. I think that focus is reassuring to like everyone currently looking at what Base is doing, and knowing that you guys are focused on that is really cool. And then your side projects and all the stuff that you're learning and developing. I'm going to do my part to follow up with you on the skills and make those available to our ecosystem devs so they can make use of them, because I think you have a lot of great knowledge in there.
How amazing is it that the Base devs are like on chain, doing things like using the chain, using all the toolings around, like that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's so reassuring for the ecosystem. And then through that, you also know, okay, we need, like, these are the gaps as an infrastructure that we need, that can provide this service to everyone. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, no, it's really inspiring when I see some of my coworkers do stuff like that. There's a coworker of mine named Karem. He puts out some really good content about like side projects he's been building. I think he built like a poker room for agents. Monzi, who's a product manager, was building things like delivering French fries to her house with USDC and just like a open claw kind of like agent kind of thing. I just love seeing other people on the team doing like experimentation and side projects, because then they bring them into the actual work. You'll see it in Slack to say, hey, this is what I worked on. These are the technologies I use. Here's what I learned. Here's what I think could apply to the app. Here's what I don't think we're ready to do yet. Like, all these different things. So it's really cool. It's such a fun place to be. And, while I am truly enjoying this time off with my newborn, there's another side of me that's like really excited to jump back in and see what the heck did I miss,
Yeah, I could relate to that. And well, Myk, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you. And we'll talk offline very shortly, I'm sure.
Right on. Yeah, thanks for having me.
See you, Danny, later.
I forgot the music.
Oh, a little music to end. Yeah. Okay, I didn't end stream. I didn't touch it.
No, you can end it. Hold on. There we go.
Oh.
It's Friday. I have 3 more meetings, but it's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. Also, Danny, wait. First of all, compliment your background. It's my favorite background. You got all the, Star Wars, everything that. Yeah, super cool.
Also, Igor and I are going to
yes,
speak to the Base batches.
SF. We're going to be in San Francisco next week, early Monday. So we're excited to see so many people from Base, Coinbase, and builders.
And the builders, yeah. Demo day is probably the funnest day. I was a mentor for this Base batches, and the ones I spoke to, I'm like, wow, blown away at the level of builders.
Super exciting.
We'll report back. Okay, guys, happy Friday.
Bye.
Bye.